Joe Budden's level of phoniness, new highs. It's reached new highs when it comes to the Drake lawsuit topic. Cause listen, this is somebody who admits himself that he's phony. And he does it for the content. And he knows it's gonna get people talking. So let's talk about it in the sense that this is a new level of ignorance and phoniness that even supersedes what he's done before. Because the way he plays the tracks on the latest episode talks about how great Drake's music used to be and how it's over for Drake and the fall off is insane. And this isn't my hip hop with these lawsuits against this battles, even though he clearly ignores the fact that it's against UMG and it's not against Kendrick and the diss battle because he stepped in for a reason. They completely ignore the fact that they're the ones who opened up the discussion against the PDF topic. He's the one, and they keep talking about how Drake incited it on the Taylor Made freestyle, heard it on the Joe Budden podcast, so it gotta be true. I mean, literally ignoring while mentioning that he's talking about Joe Budden starting it, not Drake starting it, Joe Budden starting it, but he ignores it, and Parks ignores it on the video too, which is generally insane. So Ish, who's one of my favorites on a podcast, he hasn't even listened to tracks like Duppy Freestyle or 4 p.m. in Calabasas, and yet he has the ability to talk about this topic. Not really, but he's still talking about it. This is how out of touch a lot of these people who talk about the subject and claim to be of the culture talk about it. But listen, this isn't a hate against a podcast because I listen to them and I'm a Patreon supporter. And I love listening to Ish discuss a lot of topics. I'm just saying here he wasn't as informed as he should be for this. And by the way, he doesn't claim to be. So this isn't a knock on him. Let's go back to Joe Budden. He's just been saying so much ignorant things about this whole thing that is just generally hilarious at this point. The anti-Drake propaganda is new levels because he completely ignores the fact that while they're talking about Spotify, the ownership that UMG has on Spotify, and how they control the button that what's pushed and what's not. That was the whole topic. They ignore the fact and they act like Drake is at a downfall when Drake was number one every month on 2024 on Spotify, which UMG has a big part in. And they ignore the fact that on 2025, the streams increased for Drake at a bigger level. For a fact. Even with the whole feud with UMG. There's never been a situation where it's pro hip hop and where it's hip hop to be pro label. Joe Budden knows this better than anybody. But since it's Drake, he has to try to talk about the downfall and be petty and be ignorant about the subject because it's going to get the viewership. And this is what he does best. Ice, for whatever reason, even knowing so much about catalogs and music, really didn't do a great job when it came to detail about this discussion, forgetting a lot of things. It happens. They spoke for a long time about it either way. But listen, if you can't see how there's no objectivity when it comes to how he's treated this, and he said, I haven't said anything good about him in months. And he said it intentionally on one of the other episodes. It is what it is, but let's realize that he's doing this on purpose and that there's objectively not a downfall. What he's trying to portray as a downfall because everybody's trying to be the mob and trying to, quote unquote, say that it's over for Drake while the numbers say something else. Even the numbers that UMG tries to, quote unquote, not push anymore, which Ice claims and Joe Budden claims, and he's still over there at the top. So, in the reality, what Joe Budden is saying is not true, objectively. He's the same phony person who was talking great about the Serena diss track, if you want to call it that, the diss track to her husband on the Her Loss album, how great Drake was rapping there, how great Drake's raps were throughout the entire album, how that was an amazing album, and how he still had it when he wanted that interview on his show, the Joe Budden TV channel on YouTube, back in 2022. He talked about how great Drake was on that album. Now he acts like he's never liked anything since Certified Lover Boy. That's peak phoniness. Now he acts like Drake hasn't released anything good since then. And then he switches up and says, this Family Matters track, if it was anybody else, if it wasn't Kendrick, this would have been the hit, the bomb, blah, blah, blah. The way he said it on another episode. So there's phoniness the whole time, back and forth. It's intentional. It is what it is. But listen, I had to make the video because you don't dictate what is hip-hop and what is not. I don't. I have a lot of history with actually listening to what I grew up with, Drake, Kendrick, and Cole. And I love hip-hop, and I love all of these albums they've made. Some I don't. Mr. Morale, no. But listen, I've done over 500 videos on this, on reacting to music, reviewing in detail. So I generally care about this topic. I know Joe Budden does as well, and he has to do what he does. And I listen to him, and I enjoy that podcast the most. But the level of phoniness is at a peak, and it had to be said. Hopefully, one day he tries to change and not be like that with Drake anymore. Or is it just going to be where he just hates Drake for a long time again, while he loves secretly his music? It is what it is. You never know.